Hey guys, it's Kelly. I am back with another process video for my Creative Scrapbook Kit Club. And if you follow me on Pinterest, you would have seen that a few weeks ago I ended up pinning a bunch of layouts and sketches that all had circle elements to them, and I decided that I wanted to jump on the bandwagon and do a layout that was based on circles as well. That is something that I have shied away from. When I started scrapbooking back in 2000, Creative Memories was pretty big, and everything was cut in circles, or you like silhouette cut people out of the picture, and I have flashbacks, and so I think for so long I have resisted the circle wagon just because of that. But I decided that I really liked the look of some of these layouts and sketches, and that I wanted to try and make something of my own. So you just saw I tacked down a couple of the layers. I was trying not to be too fussy about them and just trying to let it take me, or if I like something, just to go ahead and kind of get it down in that area. I knew that I wanted to do some mixed media on the background, but I wasn't quite sure where my layers were going to end up, and I didn't want to cover up that much of the mixed media. So I just wanted to have a general idea before I started. So I am going to use my Shimmers watercolors for this, and it just turns out to be so pretty. And this is a new gesso for me, and it is by Art Basics, and I still have other gesso left, unfortunately, and I will be using that just because I can't stand to waste it. But this gesso is by far my favorite gesso that I have used. There isn't a gritty feel to it, and my other complaint with the Liquitex white gesso is that it's not white. It's kind of a cream based, and when you place it on your white cardstock, I can see the difference in color, and it drives me batty. So I decided that I was going to try something that I've seen some of the card makers do, and it didn't really work out so well. I am just taping the layout before I really delve into the watercolors, and I think that what I needed to do was tape it before I started the gesso. But it's one of these things that sometimes you don't learn until you actually do it and figure it out, and that's all right. That's kind of part of the fun of what scrapbooking is. So just in case you are wanting to try something similar, go ahead and tape it down before you even put your gesso on. So I'm going to use the famous packaging technique to put down the watercolors, and I am going to go ahead and do this in a diagonal direction, reading from the upper left to the lower right. And I decided to do that just because I felt like that was the way that my papers or my circles were going to go, and I wanted the background and the circles to just all be fluid together. And I like things to look like it was meant to be that way, and that's kind of part of the scariness for mixed media for me, is because there's times you just don't know how it's going to turn out, and a lot of times you just have to go with it. But with the packaging technique, at least I was able to keep the the flow of the watercolor in the areas that I really wanted it to be. So I did let that dry, and I trimmed off about a ½ inch off of two sides of the paper just so that I could mount it onto this pretty peach cardstock. And I am putting a ton of adhesive on it, and I actually prefer to do that. It makes it harder because I inevitably stick it down crooked like I did just a second ago, and but once you get it down and smooth it out, it really takes away so many of the wrinkles. And once you get your papers and your photos back on the background, the warping is really not that evident, and I think it's probably more evident to the person that makes the page rather than somebody else that's looking at it. So I was trying to figure out exactly which way I wanted the watercolor effect to go, and I did decide on my original thought. And I'm just pulling out some of the circles. I was not sure how many circles I was going to use or even what size that I was going to use. I just knew that I wanted that Kaiser Craft floral that is on that bottom right, the bigger circle, to be one of the main focal points because it's just so pretty. And it's a specialty paper that has a little bit of a sheen on it, and I definitely wanted to be able to see that. So you just saw me frantically searching for one of my circles, and yeah, it was right there. If it were a snake, it would have bitten me. But you know, that's how it goes. So when I'm pulling out the embellishments, I also want everything to follow in that diagonal flow. And I tried to pull out things that repeated that circle element as well. And I just, you know, like I said, it's a page that I wouldn't normally do, but seeing all this, you know, all these layouts done, I know that Ashley Horton had one and maybe a sketch, and I think Missy, I know Missy does several with different circles. It was just, you know, very inspiring to see some of these layouts, and just wanted to do something, you know, similar on one of my pages. So these white foam thickers also come with a kit, and I decided that I was going to title this Sweet Friends, and I decide to go ahead and get things stuck down before I get too much further into it. I knew that I needed to move over the title just a little bit. I did not like the way that the letters had intersected over top of the edges of the circles, and that was what I wanted to fix. And at that point, it just made it look better to my eye. So this is a piece of trim that was included with the kit, and what I did is I folded it over on itself and then just stitched it with some gold thread. It is not straight. If it were required to be straight, that would not be something I'm good at. And I like the whimsical feel of this, and just thought with the gold thread, it added a pretty touch. So to stick that down, I just used my ATG, and it worked very well. I was a little surprised at how well it did work. But, you know, for me, I'm going to try my ATG since that is, I guess, the most adhesive that I have. That's not my liquid adhesive, and I'd like to see if that works first before I try with anything else, and it worked beautifully. So at this point, I'm going to continue to get things stuck down. I am liking the way that the layout is turning out, and I hate to have things move too much, so I like to get them stuck somewhat, you know, but leaving some wiggle room, because I do change my mind fairly frequently when I'm doing my pages. So this is not rocket science, but it is rocket science. You know, working with a layout that's outside of my comfort zone, I tend to move things around quite a bit. And, you know, for most people, when they're looking at it, they're like, oh, just be, you know, stick it down, be done with it. That's part of what I like, is to move it around and to figure out where I like it. And, you know, I don't mind that it takes me an hour to create a page. Or, you know, in this case, it probably took me a little bit longer to, you know, when I'm looking at how, you know, the time to die cut the circles and things like that. You know, I'm perfectly content with that. So I decided that I wanted to try that peach camera. I wanted to see which camera that I liked better, and I will end up switching it back to the aqua camera. And I am just taking my Wink of Stella, and this is the clear, and just adding a little bit on top of the flowers, and I just felt like that would make a nice touch with the shininess of that Kaiser Craft paper plus the gold thread. And in a little bit, I'm gonna come back and show you how I have done some gold stitching throughout the layout as well, and I just love that really pretty, elegant touch that it gives. So I am pulling some of the Simple Stories word stickers out, and I want to place a few on the page, and the two in that on that upper left hand circle say summer memories and live today, and the one in the bottom right hand side says enjoy it all. And at this point I'm just trying to place the smaller little items. The Simple Stories chipboard had these really small, delicate aqua flowers that I just thought were so pretty, and I liked the way that they looked. So here I'm just showing you where I did some of that gold stitching, and just love the way that it turned out on the page. I feel like for me, stitching just sometimes is the perfect addition, and just love the way that it turned out on this page. So I do decide that I'm going to put those little flowers down, and I'm going to have it close to the photo because that creates a nice visual triangle of those little teeny flowers that keeps the girls' faces right in the middle of that triangle. So I decided that when I was looking at my layout, I did not see enough of the gold Heidi Shine, so I wanted to come back and add in a few more sprinkles. And in just a second, you will see that I bring out one of my Prima mist as well, just to add some more of that peachy pink color, just a little bit more definition to the page. So be sure to look at the close-ups because that's when you can really see how beautiful the Shimmers watercolor is and how pretty the gold stitching turned out with this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I have all of the details for the Kit Club in the detail section below my video, so please check them out if you're interested. And that's pretty much it for me. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.